In 1983, construction workers in southern China were stopped in their tracks. As they excavated a site for a new apartment building, they unearthed the entrance to a mysterious tomb. Dating back over 2,000 years, it contained a treasure trove of artifacts that defied the historical records. And most miraculous of all was a silk and jade burial suit befitting a mighty ruler, a man that has remained a mystery until now. I am archaeologist Dr. Agnes Xu, and I'm on the trail of an elusive ruler who once held sway over southern China. I'm investigating the true nature of his forgotten civilization and seeking to know who was this mighty man entombed in the spectacular silk and jade suit. Guangzhou is one of China's most dynamic cities. It's an important trading port and the economic powerhouse of southern China. But its current-day sophistication belies a much humbler past. For thousands of years, this region in the far southern part of China has always been known for its cuisine, its beautiful mountains, its beautiful rivers, and its proximity to the ocean. But it was never known as a land of civilization. China didn't exist as we know it in 206 BC. In the north, the fall of the Qing Empire saw Liu Bang establishing the Han Empire with its capital at Chang'an. The Han believed the mountainous region far to their south was home to primitive cultures dominated by savage barbarians. But in 1983, an archaeological discovery shattered our perception of this southern region. At a museum 40 kilometers outside Guangzhou City, I'm meeting archaeologist Professor Huang. 30 years ago, he was a young graduate who was sent to investigate what appeared to be an ancient tomb. So after you got the call, you rushed over here. What was your first impression of this area?
当时的民工呢，在这里呢起房子，一个很高的山，原先香港是一个很高的山。
山多高？
山有49.7米，就推到这个的时候呢，推了1年多。这里大概是海拔32米的时候，再往下挖的时候就发现这个东西了。
那时候您是考古队的队长。
对，按照我们考古的那个一看呢，我说，哎，一看这些石头，我就跟邓科长说，这是一个古墓。广州的古墓啊，我挖了好多当时，但是一般不算是太大，2米多宽，3、4米长。那个墓边一挖，整个人愣在那里。哎呀，怎么那么大？
是您那时候还不知道时代是什么？
在这个墓发掘以前，广州发现用石头来砌墓是明朝。
Burials in the far south of China were traditionally simple in-ground affairs. But this massive tomb measured just over 10 meters in length and 12 meters in width. To find a tomb of this size buried in a hill was an indication of something extraordinary. As Professor Huang was lowered through the roof of the tomb, he became the first man to enter this mysterious space in 2 millennia. As you descend, what did you see actually?
就有一块石头掉下去断了，就是那块石头断了就有个裂缝，我们就可以爬在那里看。我第一个爬在那里看是什么？一看到这前石，哎呀，我看到前石就看到一个铜鼎。我一看到铜鼎我就觉得很奇怪，因为我头脑中印象的这个是个名墓，哎呦，怎么看到个汉鼎在那里？ 哎呀，我说，哎呀，我就跟那个陈伟汉跟贤景祥说，我说，哎，这个可能是汉墓啊，不是明墓。那两个没看，他就笑我，他说你呀、老是想挖汉墓，因为广州最多汉墓。他说你老想挖汉墓，明明是明墓，怎么会有汉代的东西呢？看是铜鼎旁边有个汉代的陶器，这个应该是西汉的墓了。
For the young archaeologist, this promised to be the discovery of a lifetime. With the tomb now fully excavated, we can enter simply via the front door.
这个是它的墓道，其实这个墓道很长，因为上面推了18米左右了，所以感觉不到。它原先一直就通到外面的。
The front chamber was sealed shut with a security system aimed at keeping out intruders for eternity. But we have the magic phrase. 阿里巴巴芝麻开门。
对，就在这里了啊。其实这个门呢，本来它是也有个防盗措施，你就挖到这里还不能进来呢，它门关了。
The sophisticated defense mechanisms and the tomb's impressive construction indicated that it must have been built for someone with great wealth and power. As the archaeologists excavated deeper into the tomb, they made a grisly discovery. Bone fragments from human remains were found in several chambers.
I'm standing the very place where 4 women were sacrificed so that they can accompany their lord into the afterlife forever. During the Han Dynasty, this custom was actually abandoned. So what's so interesting about finding evidence of human sacrifice here is that we have a paradox here. We have a Han Dynasty tomb during a time when this practice was no longer in existence.
In total, 15 servants had been sacrificed to accompany their master into the afterlife. Archaeologists had excavated 3 chambers, a front chamber, an east and west wing chambers. But they had still not found the main burial chamber. And another sealed door blocked them from exploring what lies beyond.
这道门呢，挡了我们好几天的，终于呢开了，就发现一个很惊人的现象，就很多金玉器啊，穿着玉衣啊，木爪就在这里了。
Archaeologists excavated and restored relic after relic, producing a catalog of treasures. And the most spectacular discovery of all was this jade and silk burial suit. In the past, only the highest-ranking members of the Han Dynasty were entitled to such exquisite burial suits. So who is this Han noble buried so far south? A jade seal was discovered with the burial suit. It finally identified the owner of the tomb. The name inscribed on the seal was Zhao Mo. In 1983, in the bustling city of Guangzhou in southern China, an ancient tomb is discovered. Chinese archaeologists find an exquisite jade and silk burial suit fit for an emperor.
The man who owns this tomb is someone named Zhao Mo. And he ruled over this feudal kingdom in the southern part of the Han Empire that encompassed today's Guangdong province as far as northern Vietnam in today's world. The records tell us that this was a barbarian kingdom and that they were not advanced on one hand. But on the other hand, we have this discovery of treasures that seem to indicate this was an advanced, sophisticated culture far away from the Han Empire. Now, which one is the real Nanyue?
Antiquities expert Professor Chen surprisingly says, The sophistication of the Nanyue Kingdom can be found in, of all places, the bowels of a downtown shopping mall. Beneath the bargain hunter's paradise of the Guangning Plaza in Guangzhou, the walls of the ancient Nanyue Kingdom once met the Pearl River.
这蛮稀奇的。
对，这是个南越国时期的一个木构水闸遗址。
This is thought to be the earliest and the best preserved wooden sluice gate ever found in the world. A scale model shows what it might have looked like 2,000 years ago. Sluice gates are still used around the world to control levels in irrigation systems.
因为这个位置呢，当时的北面呢有一条白云山的水道从这里下来，它就连接珠江口。这个地方呢，就是南越国最南的一个城墙。墙的这个地方呢，做个水闸，白云山的水下来以后，把它取出起来，以后呢，可以防止外面的这个咸水或者是潮水涌进来。当里面没水的时候，它也可以把外面水吸进来，就具有排和吸的这个作用。所以水利专家就认为，这是我国乃至世界上最早的一种就是木构的这种水利设施。
For its time, this is amazing hydrological technology, and nothing like what you would expect to find in a barbaric kingdom.
Treat yourself to the best gift in history this holiday season. Enjoy unlimited access to award-winning podcasts and thousands of hours of original history documentaries released weekly exclusively on History Hit. There are topics for all history lovers, from Pompeii to D-Day. Sign up via the link in the description for an exclusive discount. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to explore the past like never before with History Hit.
Back at the Museum of the Mausoleum of the Nanyue King, I am ready to explore deeper into the tomb. Beyond the first three chambers were the main coffin chamber, east and west wing chambers, and a back storage room. More than 1,000 artifacts were found inside. And with the help of museum director Wu, I will be taking a closer look at some of the jade, bronze, gold, and earthenware objects. These would have cost Zhao Mo a fortune. But what do they reveal about their owner and his supposedly primitive kingdom?
那么最下面一个这个双环的这个玉环，实际上从雕工来说是难度非常大的。
This object is absolutely extraordinary. What does this tell us about the status of the person who was buried here?
这是这个出土在墓主这个胸前的一套主玉佩，它总共是用了这个32个这个部件，其中又有玉璧、玉环，然后这个玉环、玻璃珠、梅金珠，还有这个金珠，非常精致。你看这上面这个玉璧，这个下角配了2只这种龙形。 那么这个中间的这个比较大的这个玉璧，中间是一条龙，两边是各站立这个凤凰，也展现了这个2000年中国这个社会叫做以男性为中心的这种社会特点。
那好特别哦。
非常特别，
Someone who's buried with something so magnificent must have been the king of a very strong kingdom.
It's an ornament that symbolizes tremendous wealth and power. Other objects paint a portrait of a lavish lifestyle.
We have an entire room full of musical instruments inside his tomb. What does that tell us about this guy?
在这个南越王墓出土了，包括这个钩吊啊、编钟啊、十边磬啊，比较这个独特和精致，就出了这个瑟和这个琴的一些这个叫构件。
Metallurgy in the south was probably not as advanced as it was in the Han Empire. And even in the north, only the highest-ranking Han nobles would have the privilege of owning instruments like this set of bronze bells.
I did not realize this is so special, that it's manufactured here in Nanyue. But the inscription is your traditional Qing Dynasty 小篆. It's a combination of the Central Plains Chinese culture, but on instruments that are indigenously made. You know, we always think that the Southern cultures were barbarian, but looking at this, they were definitely civilized. This was a pretty advanced society.
Through what must have been an extraordinary effort to produce his bronze bells, the Nanyue king was making a statement. His court measured up to the sophistication and the highly cultured life of the Han. And Zhao Mo would have had the front row seat for many a performance by the finest musicians in Nanyue. But while the Han spurned human sacrifice, Zhao Mo continued the ancient tradition, as well as taking the lives of concubines and servants. At least one of his favorite musicians was forced to follow him into the grave.
在南越王墓，它有个叫东耳室的地方，里边出土了成批的这种乐器，而且在里边还殉葬了一位这个年轻的这个乐师，表明了这个南越王对乐器的这个钟爱。那么在中国有一句成语形容这个帝王生活的，叫做钟鸣鼎食，说要敲钟才吃饭，然后那个列鼎而食，那么喝酒、听音乐、饮食，就是形成了古代这个高层社会完整的一套这个叫礼乐制度。
Definitely fit for a king. He enjoyed tremendous pleasure in his life and in the afterlife.
And there's evidence that Zhao Mo loved his food as much as his music, sharing a culinary obsession that lives on today in southern China.
广东人对吃是那个
举世闻名的，是
这个叫无以复加了。
More than 50 exquisite cooking implements have been excavated from the Nanyue king's tomb.
这一件是这个是煎的，如果你们这个在广州有机会，建议你们去喝一次早茶。广东人叫煎马蹄糕啊、萝卜糕啊，下面放炭火，就是这种东西。那么还有一道菜，广东叫白切鸡嘛，那个鸡清蒸之后就切成块儿，蘸那个姜汁。 那么这个东西就是2000年前磨那个生姜的那个器具，咱们叫姜叉，一模一样。现在咱们泡萝卜丝到现在还在用。那么这个鼎一方面是反映了这个墓主人身份的这个高贵，咱们叫钟鸣鼎食了；另一方面也反映了这个广东人的这个饮食这个传统。在南越王墓就出土了大量的这个海龟啊、海贝啊、荷花雀啊、鸡蛋呐、还有蚬啊、蚝啊这个等等这个东西。
真的什么都吃。
哎，对，就表明了这种这个喜欢。
This tomb is extraordinary. When I was a student just starting out to study Chinese archaeology, we thought that Chinese archaeology was contained to the Central Plains region, that any place below the Yangtze River, they were all barbarians. But today I've seen out of this world jade objects. I've seen musical instruments that were made in this region with carvings of Qing Dynasty inscription. And I have seen an entire suite of cookware, some of which remind me of what we use today. Who is this guy buried here? It puzzles me how he could have collected all the riches. He lived with all these extraordinary things, and he died with them.
To find the answers, I will have to search beyond the tomb of Zhao Mo, digging deeper into the origins of the Nanyue kingdom. The tomb of Zhao Mo, the second king of Nanyue, is a subterranean palace stocked full of treasures and indulgences to provide a luxurious afterlife. But Zhao Mo only ruled for 15 years up to 122 BC in what was thought to be a primitive feudal state. But how did he amass such wealth? The historical records suggest that he could thank his grandfather, a man named Zhao Tuo. We know from records that Zhao Tuo started out as a military officer who took advantage of the instability in the north and founded this kingdom in the south. It was in 214 BC that Zhao Tuo was sent by the Qing emperor to conquer and unify the southern Yue tribes. But in less than a decade, the Qing Empire crumbled and the Han Empire took hold. Zhao Tuo grabbed the opportunity to establish a kingdom extending over modern-day regions in Guangdong and Guangxi provinces. To learn more about Zhao Tuo's legacy, I'm on my way to meet Director Quan of the Nanyue Kingdom Palace Museum.
欢迎欢迎。
In 1995, 12 years after Zhao Mo's tomb was discovered, archaeologists found Zhao Tuo's palace ruins. This is one of the largest palace sites ever excavated in China, spanning some 3,900 square meters.
在广州市的中心，就发现了一处这个南越国的都城啊，都城呢，它都城里面呢分了好几个区域，就是有这个宫殿区，还有呢，现在我们最重要的一个发掘就是这个御苑区，就是通常讲的后花园。
Where are we exactly where we're standing in context of this layout?
我们现在站的地方呢，应该在这个范围以外，就是那栋房子的后面。
Over there. I see.
A scaled-down reconstruction of the palace feels very familiar to me.
I'm looking at this. It looks so similar to those we see in the Central Plains. How does it compare to those in the north?
就是根据宫殿模型它的基础啊，根据它那个大小，就是也参考了这个中原的建造模式。因为我们从它的基础能看到，从它的那个建筑构建各种材料能看到，它完全是按照中原的这种高台建筑、这种梁架这个土木结构来建的一栋房子。所以呢，整个南越的宫殿从它的布局，从它的宫殿的形制，用的材料都是来自于中原的。
But while the construction of the Nanyue Palace shows aspirations to match the powerful Han, archaeologists have found other objects that clearly outdo Han's know-how at the time, and they are rewriting the history of technological development and trade in China.
这个呢，虽然说文献上是在到了这个东晋的时候，就说这个南方滨海地区的人就通过这个跟这个东南亚那些国家。 学制造这种玻璃器，但是我们现在从考古出土发掘出来的这些文物，那么实际上早在好几百年前就有这种材料进来。我们发现这种材料的时候呢，国内当时还有很多专家都不敢相信，来得太突然了，这肯定不是自己这边自己发明、自己创造的。
That's really eye-opening. So we speculate that this technique of glazing is actually from Southeast Asia, further indicating, at least suggesting, there was trade with the outside world, and that Nanyue was innovating and trying to perfect this technology indigenously. It's really amazing.
Even more surprising is that the Nanyue Kingdom may have founded its own trade route with the West, even before the opening of the continental Silk Road.
I had never seen anything like this from this period. They don't look Chinese to me.
我们在发掘的时候啊，我们还发现一个一种叠石的柱子，就是一根柱子呢，它不是用一块大石头做起来，它是用很多块石头一层一层的 垒筑起来的。那么这种做法呢，在西方，在地中海沿岸啊，或者在两河流域啊，所以呢，我们现在也怀疑，就是说是不是有一个什么样的途径，就是能有，就是说中西文化之间，就是南越国之间，这个有这种交流。
So it seems to me there is now more material evidence to support, or rather encourage, the long-standing speculation there was trade with the outside world. And this is even before the official opening of the continental Silk Road in the north.
While trade with the outside world would have brought technology and economic growth, it's the relationship with the powerful Han Empire that would ultimately determine the kingdom's future. Zhao Tuo negotiated with 5 successive generations of Han emperors, sometimes by military might, and other times by diplomacy. Artifacts found at the palace suggest that the early years were relatively peaceful.
那个遗址里面，就在地层里面呢，就是发现了文帝的那个
文帝时代的
文帝的伴娘啊，就文帝那个时候住的钱，就说估计可能就是那个时候就是已经赵佗呢就通过他跟文帝，就跟汉中央朝廷又修建了一个比较良好的关系之后，那么呢他也不用去打仗了，也不用去做那个花太多时间在这个军事装备方面了，就可以大力的发展自己的生产然后呢他就有很大的那个财力和那个时间去修建。
When Zhao Tuo died in 137 BC, his grandson Zhao Mo inherited a kingdom fit for an emperor. Zhao Mo drew on his grandfather's palace as the inspiration for his own tomb. However, some of the tomb objects show evidence of the Nanyue kingdom's military ancestry.
在这个南越王身边就摆放了10把这个铁剑，这铁剑我想就是反映了南越王对这个军事的这个重视，而且从文物的这个角度来看，这是目前咱们国内见的最长的一把铁剑，它的长度是1.46米，而且上面都镶嵌有这个玉的这个装饰品。上次也介绍过，这个玉的这个装饰品嵌的这个武器上面，都是这个帝王才能这个使用的。这个我们推测可能是当地制造的。那么这边这个铠甲是用来这个护身用的，它用了709片这个铁的这个铁片，这个圈起来。那么除了这些之外，我们还出土了这个戈呀、矛啊、这个剑呐，实际上反映了这个冷兵器时代武器这个种类的这个齐全。这个兵器有2大块，就是有一部分肯定是从中原这个进口的，一部分就是一定是在当地进行这个冶炼的。那么这武器为我们了解这个2000年前这个岭南的这个军事国力啊，或者是武器这个制造，提供了非常重要的这个实物依据。
A bronze bucket found in the tomb suggests that these weapons were not just for show.
盛酒的，装酒的。但9个铁桶，这个是很典型的南越的铜器。那这个铁桶是9个里面唯一一件有传闻的，传闻。中间那是一个传闻，它呢就是那个表现的就是南越人去经过一场海战以后抓了一些俘虏凯旋回来的情况了。这个是你看他拿这个钺就是斧头了，砍了一个俘虏你看这个他的器物，这个还抓了一个还在那里手写
要砍头
砍头了，要执行任务，这是在庆祝什么的。那个史书记载我们南越的人南越就是这边的善州，就是说胡人善马，就是北方的民族骑马很厉害。那我们这边南方的南越族呢，善州就是说，因为我们濒临南海嘛，所以呢，他就是说呢，开拓海疆，这是非常非常厉害的。而且呢，你看这个船反映当时南越国的船已经是非常先进了。所以呢，在我们南越王墓里面也出土一些跟海上丝绸之路有关的一些文物，就是这个。
Weapons sourced from the north as well as made locally, and a naval force capable of raiding nearby territories indicate that Zhao Mo clearly had substantial military might. Perhaps this gave him the confidence to produce what is one of the most striking and indeed most controversial artifacts in his tomb, the spectacular jade suit he was buried in. The discovery of a 2,000-year-old tomb in Guangzhou unearthed treasures that have opened a window into ancient China. The most exquisite object of all reveals the Nanyue king's greatest ambition, the quest for immortality.
This is a chamber where archaeologists found remnants of a broken jade suit. The jade suit that we now know belonged to Zhao Mo.
这个是举世闻名的这个南越王的丝缕玉衣，它是出土在这个主棺室，整个玉衣用了2291片这个玉片。2200。对。这是我国目前见的年代较早的一套完整的这个玉衣，而且用丝编缀，也体现了一个玉衣的一种新的体制。
对，我从来没有看过是丝缕。
This was very different from the other jade burial suits found before. They were all stitched together with threads of gold, silver, or bronze.
为什么是红色的？
红色可能是反映了早期这个对上葬观念的这个一种这个崇尚，那个南越王墓大量的玉器都涂有这个红色。
红色是朱砂吗？
这个是红色的丝织物，其他的红色都是朱砂。 而且这个玉衣，我们仔细看它的这个场景，它的手部、头部、手部和脚部做的是比较精致的，然后躯干部位是用比较粗糙的玉，那么体现了可能南越王死亡的时候是比较仓促，可能没有准备好。
What's most surprising is that this jade burial suit was ever made for Zhao Mo. Jade suits were a privilege accorded only to the ruling elite of the Han Dynasty in the Central Plains. As the ruler of a subordinate state, Zhao Mo's status would not have entitled him to such an honor. I wondered how this burial suit measures up against the genuine article. And to find out, I need to make a journey Zhao Mo never made in his lifetime. 1,500 kilometers north to where the Han Dynasty maintained absolute rule for 400 years.
Here we are looking at one of the best excavated example of a jade suit from the Han Dynasty. This jade suit obviously belonged to someone of extremely high status and definitively a member of the imperial lineage. There is a Chinese proverb to show off wealth and status in the ancient world, and that was 金缕玉衣, literally gold thread jade suit. The material of the jade is the best of the best. It's white jade from the Khotan region. There are about 4,300 of them here and some. Each was sewn to the next piece very meticulously by gold threads.
If you were planning an afterlife, then a jade suit was as essential as a spacesuit to an astronaut.
Being buried inside a jade suit is like being buried inside an armor, so that in the afterlife, the person inside would not face physical deterioration, decay, but more importantly, that his spirit will live on in immortality.
This jade suit was made for the king of Chu, who was from the same bloodline as the 7th emperor of the Han Dynasty. Was the burial suit back in Guangzhou a deliberate attempt by the Nanyue king to self-proclaim as royalty?
给我们留下历史信息是这 这个寓意可能不是中央赐给的，而是这个直接在本地它制作的，也体现了这个南越王2000年前那个僭越的这种叫这个含义。南越王本身就是汉人，他骨子里面就是这个汉文化。第二点就是这种，帝王之家的这个生活，他到这个地方他一定是追求和这个模拟的。
所以这些地方王称王之后，这个人称帝之后，就像模仿。
是的，中原的这个咱们叫礼制了。
对。
是。
This thing must have cost an entire country to make. What did he look like? What kind of man was he in his lifetime?
是的，就是这个从这考古出土看，我们判断这南越王的身高大概1.7米左右。
Oh, he was tall.
那么对，经过这个年龄鉴定，大概是43岁左右。那么我们结合史书和这个南越王墓出土的文物看，这个人，27岁左右继承这个王位，一生体弱多病，同时他缺少了他爷爷那种叫雄心和这个胆略。
He died at age 43. His grandfather lived until 101. What happened?
A clue can be found in what may be a personal pharmacy that was discovered in Zhaomo's tomb.
Are these ancient Chinese medicines?
这5种药石呢，分别是绿松石、赭石、紫水晶、雄黄和硫磺。咱们查一下要点啊，这个硫磺这种东西对人体的作用来说呢，它外用可以治疗一些，疮，一些生疮的一些部位，然后可以去虫。那么雄黄呢，它的组成成分呢是2硫化2砷，内用呢，它可以治疗风寒的虚寒等等一些作用。也就是说呢，相对来说，雄黄和硫磺更可以称之为药。
So we know the king of Nanyue was sick. He was sickly since childhood, and he died at the young age of 43. So based on this, what do you think he was sick from?
身体寒性偏重于偏凉，您知道在中医里边讲凉寒，那所以呢有雄黄和硫磺这种偏向热的一些药石来补充他的身体。那我觉得呢，他应该得的是风寒之症。
But modern medicine has revealed that a cup of Zhaomo's cold and flu remedies may have done more harm than good. In fact, they may have been lethal.
一个就是雄黄，刚才说的雄黄，雄黄是2硫化2砷，砷元素是剧毒的，2硫化2砷还好一点，如果变成砷的氧化物3氧化2砷，大家都知道就是砒霜，是剧毒。
So what does it mean?
所以说，是不是首先它虚寒 ，OK， 服用这种所谓的阳性的药物阳热的药物，但是呢过量服用，使得砷的重金属的含量过多了，所以终于一命呜呼。这一点或许是我们的一个推测，当然肯定没有任何人能够下这个定论，但是是有这个可能的。
Historical records reveal that throughout his entire reign, Zhaomo used his poor health as an excuse to avoid a long and arduous journey to pay homage to the Han. Instead, as a show of his loyalty, he sent his son Zhao Yingqi. Tensions were obviously high as Zhao Yingqi was kept hostage by the Han court. But the Han surely would have invaded if they had learned of one of the smallest artifacts found in Zhaomo's tomb. Zhaomo's jade and silk suit must have been a well-kept secret. For if it was known he was assuming the status of an emperor, it would have incurred the wrath of the powerful Han dynasty. And there was one tiny item found in Zhaomo's tomb that, had it been known to the Han, would have guaranteed Nanyue's annihilation.
我无话可说，真的是。
这枚金印它出土在这个南越王的这个胸腰部位，那么这也是咱们国家目前见到的最早的一枚用龙做印钮的这个金印，它边长是3.1厘米。这条龙今天看来是非常这个成熟，它是 S 型的，然后有牛的鼻子，这个蛇的这个身子，然后这个鹰的这个爪子，
真的是
非常漂亮，
无法想象的。
是，绝对是那个这国宝了。
蛮重的。
对，黄金含量是98.6%，印文上非常规整的写着“文帝行喜”4个字的这个小篆体的这个印文。这种印章，据我们推测，它主要是这个南越王用来在国内发布这个行政命令用的，反映了就是这个南越国独立一方的这个南越国，咱们叫僭越称帝的一个活的这个物证。司马迁在他的《史记》里边曾经记载，这个南越王对外称王，对内僭越称帝。
We learn from the ancient records, when he was under attack by a neighboring state, Zhao Mo repledged his loyalty to the Han Empire. And as a result, for support, he ended up ruling as a feudal lord for another 15 years, until he died in the year 122 BCE. After that, his son, who he actually had sent to the Han court as a hostage for many years, returned to Nanyue and ruled for another 10 years. Then the great conquering emperor Han Wudi swept through the south and put an end to the Nanyue kingdom.
So what is the true legacy of the kings of Nanyue? History books recorded that they ruled over a land of barbarians. But in my journey, I have discovered that this was a robust civilization that made technological advances. They built city walls, they built palaces that rivaled those in the Central Plains region. They were trading with the outside world as well as with the Central Plains cultures. They were a group of people that were using indigenous materials, yet adopting outside technology to create a culture, a technology that was completely their own. This was what was so beautiful and unexpected in our journey, in our learning about the ancient Nanyue kingdom. After 2,000 years, the secrets of the tomb of the jade suit have been revealed. But one mystery still remains.
这个呢是第2代的南越王墓，但是那个埋藏更多最吸引人的是赵佗，他的墓非常大，史书记载就陪葬了很多东西。南越族何足葬着？我们现在有理由怀疑，那个赵佗的陵墓应该在那边那座山上。
I can only imagine the treasures and stories that could be unearthed inside of where I'm standing. And if Zhao Tuo's tomb can be found, it could be amongst the richest archaeological discoveries ever. And once more, we will be rewriting the history of ancient China.